when you are caring for an adult child with disabilities, or even as parents age and you're doing that, there are just so many ways that your time and your energy is torn. And so I think the least that you have to worry about should be, you know, where are you getting this medical equipment? How many calls am I going to have to make? What's going to happen? It takes that one less thing that you have to really worry about and you know, invest all that time in. And so that, I find that to be, you know, real important with Jeanine, to have somebody who's aware of her needs that can, you know, that can help me. And when she went on a feeding tube, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do, how you take care of it, or anything. And our provider here locally was able to really, you know, spoon feed me through that whole process. And when we had issues, they were there to answer any questions we had. And you know, if we had to have changes in equipment, they were, you know, ready to do that, you know, within a day's notice. Mm-hmm. So when you go outside the community, then you're having to make multiple phone calls. You really don't know the agent that you're working with. We do have a local rep in Dallas who we've recently met, but he's in Dallas, and we have to set up an appointment for him to come out. And then whoever we're talking to is in Houston, and then their distribution center is somewhere else. So that gets to be a little crazy. So at this point, we're getting supplies, you know, for her feeding tube from, you know, not locally, and then the rest of her things here with a provider we've been using for the last several years. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that certainly wasn't by choice. You know, we would much prefer to deal with somebody locally who knows Jeanine personally and our family, and you know, and can just make life a little easier. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that we were going to run into these problems, but we got to a place where Jeanine just couldn't get enough nutrition orally. She was having real difficulty swallowing, and basically her stomach pretty much shut down. And so we had the need for the feeding tube, and you know, it was a very difficult decision to make as a parent, and even for Jeanine, and we had a lot of difficulties with it. And I think with the right provider, which is who we had, she just made that transition for us so much easier. You know, so our local provider really became a wealth of information for us, and just made that whole transition for Jeanine, you know, a lot easier. So we've come to really depend on her a lot. So for us, having to then switch providers, I mean, certainly not by choice, you know, more or less by demand, is certainly nothing that we're happy about. Mm-hmm. And it just, you know, as I said, makes that step go, you know, one process further. Mm-hmm. It's one more thing, it's one more phone call, it's explaining yet to another person, a different person every month, what it is we need, whereas before, everything just came. Once a month, we know that these are your supplies, and there they are. So there was never a question about that. So that's just been, you know, a difficulty for us. You know, this is just one more thing that adds difficulty to what we need to do to keep people with disabilities in the community, to keep them out of institutions and things like that. So, you know, my preference is to stay with somebody here locally who knows us as a family and knows Jeanine as an individual, and can help us with the, you know, different problems we might have that might arise. So, no, I'm not in favor of this at all. I would certainly like us to continue using the provider. The one we have here locally does provide some of our supplies, but she's not able to provide all of them. So, you know, it seems crazy to have to deal with two different companies, but it's not a choice that we have at this point.